Hey there, everyone. How are you doing today? So I got a question. Actually, I've gotten this question a couple of different times. So readers of my book, One Rental at a Time, are asking about a process I use to raise private money here found on page 82. I actually called it the 4 steps of buy, repair, lease, and finance. This is something I wrote a lot about on Bigger Pockets back in 2009. It obviously has morphed into a much sexier topic that Bigger Pockets, I'm sure, has trademarked called BRRRR, right? They call it buy, repair, rent, refi. I guess I wasn't smart enough to create that. I simply called it again buy, repair, lease, and finance. This is something I did repeatedly in the 2009 and 10 timeframe. A couple of you have asked for an example of a property, so I went ahead and went to Zillow, took a snapshot of the property. We're going to go through it, and then more importantly, give you actuals. How did it actually work? One of the things that some folks have read in this book are thinking is we had a big pile of money. And if anybody knows our story, that is not true. What we found in 2009 and 2010 was a way to recycle a very, very small amount of money over and over and over and over and over again. In fact, it was borrowed money. I borrowed this money from my 401k, right? So again, I'd been with a company for a long time. My 401k balance was X. I took a loan against it, paid myself back, and I used that money over and over and over again to buy lots of property. So again, to the folks that have been asking, hey, give me an example of page 82, here you go. So let me share this with you. So again, the request was, hey, love the book, love the story. Tell me more about how you did it in 2009 and 10. There's a lot of thought about the crisis we are going to be going through is similar. So I totally get it. I totally understand what you'd like to see. So let me do this in detail for you. Again, we're going to review the history. I pulled up the entire history of this property back to 2006. So you can see, and we'll walk through it because again, you're going to see price deterioration. You're going to see that the property was available to everyone. And then you will ultimately see the price that we paid for the property. And then I'm going to go through the exact process we went through, try to give you the dollar amounts as, estimates, and then again, the time frame and how we were able to recycle this borrowed capital over and over and over again. Again, to the folks that think we had a bunch of money, as you will see here, nothing further from the truth, but let's go through the process. So again, here's the property. It's actually the same property, just had a long history of price changes. I'll ask you to look at the left side of the screen right now at the bottom. So this property was sold for $200,000 right near the peak of the last crash. You could see it was foreclosed on almost 2 years to the date from when it was sold for 200. It was foreclosed on at 146,730. You could see it took almost 3 months, and this was pretty common. Back then, it took a while for properties to be put back up for sale. It was listed for 104,400. And then you just see the slow drop in prices. You can see it was removed when that expired. The first 90 days were up, it expired. It then came back on the market in September at 74 grand. It then was dropped again to 61,900. I'm now on the right side of the screen at the bottom. You could see roughly 3 weeks later, the price was dropped again. You could see it was dropped again 2 weeks later, and then 2 weeks later again. And then you could see that we bought it for $41,000. So a couple of things. First, 2006 was a peak. And as you can see here in the Z estimates, this property is not even back to the peak in 06. Z estimate pegs it at 170. I would actually peg this property at higher than that, but that is irrelevant for today. You can see it was foreclosed, and this property was held by the bank for a year and 4 months, roughly. This was happening a lot. Banks had inventory. It was growing. You could see in 2008, they didn't think they really had a problem. Then price drops started happening. And again, I've said in many videos, I said in the book, price drops were coming every week or so. And again, this was in the MLS. It was available to everyone. So we bought a property for $41,000 that last sold for $200,000. The property was vacant. It had actually been vacant for a year and a half. So this is what we were buying. And again, we bought this for $41,000 cash, and cash that I borrowed from my 401k. That's how we did it. So this is what happened. So we bought the property for $41,000. Yes, there were some closing costs and some incidentals, but we're going to leave it alone. We paid about $9,000 for the repairs. We did just the basics. Today I do turnkeys and beautify it. I did very little back in 2010. We cleaned it out because there was trash everywhere. We painted it. We put new carpet in the bedrooms. We did not replace the kitchen cabinets. We painted them. We put in new used appliances, if that makes sense. I would never do that today, but that's what we did back then. And this was all about doing a rental cleanup. Didn't replace the roof. We trimmed some trees. I don't even think we painted the outside. We might have painted the trim. But our total repair, make ready, was $9,000. Today, if I was doing this repair, it would probably be more like 20 or 22 because I'm doing it differently. But this is what I did in 2010. I did the bare minimum. So we spent $41,000 borrowed money. Then we spent $9,000 repairing it, or what I called make ready. We then leased it for $11.95 because, as you saw, it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with a garage, which isn't there, a detached 2-car garage. Then what we did is, after we had it leased, we went and borrowed $50,000 from a private investor. One of my friends and family who was getting nothing in their money market account, they saw what we were doing and they said, I would like to get 10% interest on my money. So a 10% interest on $10,000 or $50,000 is $416.67. We gave them a first note, just like a bank. They were named on insurance, and they were very, very happy. We were collecting, let's call it $1,200. We were sending out $420 roughly. After all property managements, insurance, taxes, all of that, we were netting $300, $350 a month. And oh, by the way, we had $0 in the deal. These were deals I were writing about on Bigger Pocket way back in 2009, long before the guys created Burr. I talked about it at their real estate conference in Colorado as one of their guest speakers. This is probably, where they got the idea, but that's okay. But again, this is what I did. We did this over and over and over again. Again, that $50,000 was borrowed from my 401k. We then used that, got all our money back, and we had an asset that was producing, call it $300 a month, which is $3,600 a year, and we had $0 in the deal. This is what happened, and we still own this house today. So again, why did this work? Well, we had $0 in the deal, which allowed us to do this over and over and over again. This took us about 45 days. From the day we closed to the day we refied, the $50,000 was about 45 days. We had the team lined up. We did the work in about 2 weeks. It was rented quickly. And then we went to our team and did another escrow to get our money back. And, we just did this. We did this as fast as we could. Again, this was about rinse and repeat. We did not have a big pile of cash. The cash we had was borrowed from our 401k, but if we could get it back over and over and over again, it allowed us to do this time and time and time again. This was obviously the original Burr. Again, I wasn't too smart to talk about it. You can find out again about our entire journey from one house to financial freedom in this book. It's on Amazon. and Audible if you'd rather listen. Do me a favor. If you've read it or listened to it, please leave a 5-star review on Amazon or Audible. It'd be greatly appreciated. I'm just a self-published guy, so it's really hard to get those reviews. That would be very helpful. Again, I was a, I don't know what you called them back in the day on Bigger Pockets, a selected blogger, basically one that wrote an article every week back when it was just Josh before Brandon. So this, again, was something I was doing. So why did it work? Well, first off, I documented the process. I documented on Bigger Pockets what I was doing. I had a website at the time called wealthbuildingpro.com where I documented every house we went through. So just like you saw the earlier slide from Zillow, I documented the process. I took pictures. I wish Wealth Building Pro still existed, but I shut it down years ago because now it's YouTube. It's not blogs. I paid double-digit returns. I paid 10%. I am convinced that a lot of my friends and family came to me because they knew who I was. They could look at the history. They could look at other projects, but they liked 10%. They were glad to do it. Frankly, my borrowers, we joked when we went out to dinner or we drove to Fresno, they wanted me not to pay them. They wanted to foreclose because then they could take a property that was generating $1,200 instead of getting $416. They joked, of course, we never missed a payment. Why would we? We would sell it before that. And then the last thing why it worked is we didn't over leverage. We could have borrowed more money, but we didn't. We just wanted to replace our capital. We always conservatively financed. Our journey to financial freedom is too boring for many of you. We were conservatively financed. We went slow, one rental at a time. But when you do it and you don't let market turns crush you, financial freedom is in your future. Again, so it worked because the process is documented. We paid double-digit returns. Our borrowers wanted to foreclose because our assets were of such quality. And finally, we didn't over leverage. So again, one rental at a time works. I believe it all boils down to learning your market. You get private money if you document your process and you prove that you've learned your market. Again, if you have a history and you're out there to help, it is certainly possible. So for the folks that wanted me to document what was on page 82 of my book, this video is for you. Thank you very much. If you've read our book or listened to it, please, again, go back to Amazon, take 5 seconds and leave a 5-star review. I would appreciate it so much. Have a wonderful day.